To Peace News. We're live this Thursday, November 20th, 2014. So good to be with you. We're broadcasting from Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world. So right now I'm sitting in studio with Johnson Rice, who just wrapped up Free Talk Live down in the studio below us at LRN Studios. Oh, and you are muted. So, hey, welcome, Johnson.
Hello. Hey.
Ooh, and you sound good. So sitting here yesterday was Daryl W. Perry, also of Free Talk Live fame. And we were talking about Bitcoin. And you're working with Bitcoin here in Keene and with blood dollars, the cash of the state, to do some private charity. And I wanted to focus on that a little bit in the first segment of Peace News. Of course, we'll take calls 443-424-8347 or send a Skype contact request to Peace News Now. You can also watch online at peacenewsnow.com or join us in the chat room at lrn.fm. But Johnson, go ahead and tell us what is Shire sharing and what are you doing this year to help feed hungry families?
Okay, so Shire sharing is this private idea of private charity and private giving that was started by Amanda Bolden. Actually, it was started by, I believe, Tony Robbins started this sort of basket brigade, and Amanda Bolden's father was inspired to start this in Texas. And Amanda Bolden's father sadly has passed away, and she really wanted to continue his vision for this basket brigade, where he had expanded to hundreds of families, and she has blown that out of the water. I mean, she's really continued this on. And I really liked the ideas behind this private activism and really honest charity where there's no bones about the fact that, hey, you're giving selfishly. You're giving because it makes you feel good, because you want to it's not a self-sacrifice. It's I'm doing something for myself by helping other people, because that's what I'm about.
Is this new for you, or have you done charity in the past?
I have done very small amounts of charity work. I've never run my own kind of charity or gotten involved in this level. So it's very new in terms of knowing what I'm doing, which I have no idea.
How new are you to Keene?
I've been in years. But I've been sort of always in the background, just doing design work and flyers and graphics.
And you've been on Free Talk Live since the beginning.
Yes, I've been on Free Talk Live since 2003, I guess. It's like, what? I mean, it's weird because I was doing internet radio. I've been doing internet radio since 2019. I think I have some audio from myself from 1999, like well before podcasting. I was doing internet radio.
And you moved to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project 2 years ago. You've continued to be active podcasting, and now you've dove in. You dive. I don't know what the past present participle. Yeah, delved into charity, private charity, which I think is really cool. You've criticized some of the activism in the past for being unpopular, for being divisive. Sure. And this is some activism that just everybody can get behind. I can't imagine anyone, even the Stop Free Keene people, would have anything bad to say about it, right?
I guess some people, the criticisms that I've heard of Shire sharing are, great, so you feed people one day of the year.
It's never enough.
It's never enough. That's one critique. Another critique is that I've heard, well, it's dishonest. They're just trying to, that it's only about image, or that it's only, very reaching critiques. Let's just say, that.
But part of it is true. Part of it is about image. And right. Another part is that it's selfish, that sure. you get pleasure out of donating.
Sure. And that's the bigger part for me, is that I just, if you want to donate because it makes you feel good, do that. Because if you think that you're doing something for other reasons, you're probably lying to yourself. Really, like people, with giving to charity, they've done scientific studies. There's a great episode actually recently. Have you ever heard of Freakonomics?
Yeah. By
Stephen J. Dubner and Gordon or something Levitt.
Yeah.
Stephen Levitt. Stephen Levitt. Yeah, I think you're right. Stephen Levitt and Stephen J. Dubner. Anyway, they did a show. They do this Freakonomics show, and they did a show recently where they talked about the reasons why people give for charity. They've done studies. Obviously, economists are studying everything, and one of the things that they found out is how people give more to people based on how they look. Pretty attractive blondes make the most money.
Shocking.
Yeah, and for different charities and basically the better people can feel to when they're giving, the more they're going to give. And so, I mean, it's kind of scientifically proven that people are not just self-sacrificing for charity. They're doing it because it gives them a sense of either righteousness or a good feeling, or they're help. They feel good. It feels good to help people. I don't know why so many, I guess, collectivist, socialist-minded people out there think that you have to use force and violence to take from people to, force them to give to charity. That doesn't make any sense, first of all, because it sort of seems to me to be counterproductive. You're not going to get the most from people by by using force and violence. But I think the other thing is that, people want to do this. It's not, I guess liberty-minded folks are accused of being so selfish because they won't give and they won't give them themselves and they just want to be a completely isolationist. Well, you can be selfish and give to charity because you want to help people.
Yeah, let's talk about charity as a replacement, like private charity as a replacement for welfare and moving towards the direction of a voluntary society. You're sort of living your principles here. You're living by example, showing how it could be done. Now, how many families are you aiming to feed this year?
Okay, so the original aim this year was 10 families, and we were trying to raise $500. And the $500 we knew would go further than that 10 families. But essentially what has happened here at the last minute is we realized there were some miscalculations. However,
that never happens with government.
Yeah. But we've realized that there's some miscalculations. Keene is the first year. Shire sharing tends to have a lot of refugees from foreign governments and really crazy countries like Nepal and Bhutan. And a lot of the families that come from these countries that are trying to kind of escape their governments they come over and they have religiously motivated vegetarian diets. And there are a lot of folks like that. There are a lot of refugees in the Manchester, Nashua, Concord, I think, areas. And Keene has like none. So there's a kind of a difference in diet and the baskets that Keene has are all turkey baskets.
So they're more expensive.
They're all more expensive. So there was a miscalculation there. So
are we still able to feed 10 families?
However, we're feeding 22 families.
All right.
So we're definitely feeding 22 families. And, I am still trying to raise a little bit more money at sharekeene.org because we're just trying to keep the ball rolling. I want to do stuff at Christmas. I don't want it to be just one day a year. I want to keep doing more as possible.
Yeah. And this is one of those things that really could sustain itself. Like people love it enough that it earns enough money that you could do it every year and then expand. Like Robin Hood is one of those forms of activism that people just open up their pocketbooks and say, here, take as much as you want because you're doing good work and you're saving people from tickets and producing great media. So
it's interesting for me because I feel like I'm the most ridiculous person for doing this.
Why?
I just because it's not something like...
So you're super atheist too, right?
I'm super atheist. So I'm super uncouth. I say the worst things, like I get the urge like to say something completely inopportune when the moment strikes. It's like, oh, what can I say here that's just gonna make someone angry? But nobody else is doing it.
That's right. That's one of the things New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project is it's fertile grounds for projects like these. Like if you've got a passion or an idea, you can start it. You just need to take charge.
I had been making the point on Free Talk Live that I was a behind-the-scenes activist, and I had been doing sharing for 3 years. One of the things that I did, I was driving out from Connecticut before I lived in New Hampshire to do this.
Wow.
And, it's one of those things. It's like, well, I'm going to continue doing it here.
ShireSharingKeene.org. Thanks so much for being on. Johnson Rice of Free Talk Live. ShireSharingKeene.org. Go send your Bitcoin donations. He'll also accept the King's cash. This is Peace News Now.
If you want to move to the Free State and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the realtor Mark Warden. Do you want a home with 20 acres, a lakeside cabin? Any takers for renters, buyers, and sellers too? Mark Warden is the guy for you. PorcupineRealEstate.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
Instead of just listening, you can also watch. See the Liberty Radio Network's Keene, New Hampshire-based live shows via our studio cam at cam.lrn.fm. Plus, you'll still be able to listen to the Liberty Radio Network via the cam feed in high quality 24/7, even when there's no live show being produced in our Keene studio. But wait, there's more. Our chat room is built into the cam page so you can interact with other listeners online. Listen, watch, and chat, all free at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market, making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing. To be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Yeah. What's going on, world? Welcome back. This is Peace News, and I want to get interactive. Let's talk about what's going on in the world of peaceful resistance. Got a couple of stories lined up to share with you, but you can call in and share your stories. 443-424-8347 is the Hi-Fi Civ Disc call-in line. You can also send a Skype contact request to Peace News Now. It will be accepted, and then I will put you on the air. So go on over to peacenewsnow.com/live, where you can see a chat room and video of the show. And let's move right along to the next story, which is Houston restaurant apologizes to customers for their faggy waiter, then fires the waiter. Yeah, I used the word faggy. I normally don't, But that's the word they used when they were describing their waiter in a complaint to the restaurant owners. A waiter in Texas says his managers apologized to customers who called him a faggot and complained that his effeminacy ruined their meal. Blake Butler, age 19, picked up a receipt from one of his customers at a Kelly's Country Cookin' in Houston last Wednesday and saw that they had written, "Don't want to listen to a faggot through my whole meal." Butler said he found the sentiment on the receipt, quote, disgusting, but was stunned when his manager actually apologized to the customers. And here is a picture of Faggy Blake Butler. Yeah, it's must be horrible to have a server like him. I mean, what? I can't even understand that this is still happening in 2014. But yep, this story was published today at the Logo TV network at newnow.next.com. Butler, let's see, says, quote, instead of having my back and be like, you know, that's my employee, I can't have you talking about my employees like that. She was like, oh, it's okay. I'm sorry, Butler told ABC Channel 13. Country Cookin's owner said the situation put the manager in a tough position, but that if he had been there himself, he would have, quote, had words with the customer. The restaurant maintains Butler quit after the incident, but he insists he was fired. He also he revealed he's come out to his family as a result of the story. Quote, I recently came out to my parents today because I didn't want them to find out on the news. I just finally said it. Here he is on video. This story from Houston's, what is it? Oh, great. Where they have some little ad before the news. Okay, great. So we'll wait for this ad, but this comes to us from the Houston area, ABC 13.
Tonight over a gay slur written at the top of a restaurant receipt, but it's who that apology was directed at that's causing controversy. Eyewitness News reporter Jessica Willey joins us live to explain. Jessica?
Yeah, Gina, we've all heard the saying, the customer is always right, but in this case of a gay slur left behind by customers, a former server here expected a different reaction.
If I do hear it, it's like, well, who are you? Because I don't know you.
Blake Butler can usually dismiss negative comments pretty easily.
Everybody is entitled to their own opinion.
But for this one, he felt he had to address it.
I just thought it was disgusting.
And to do so, he had to have a difficult conversation with his parents.
I just finally said it.
Butler is 19 and was a server at this Kelly's Country Cookin' on West Airport up until last Wednesday, when he says a fellow server got this note on the top of the receipt from two customers. It was about him.
The receipt said, didn't want to listen to a talk throughout the whole meal.
The message was offensive, but Butler says so was the manager's reaction.
Instead of having my back and like, oh, well, you know, that's my employee, I can't have you talking about my employees like that. She was just, oh, you know, oh, yeah, well, it's okay, I'm sorry.
Today, the owner told us it was an uncomfortable position for the manager to be in, and if he were there, he would have confronted the customers about it.
My family has always had my back.
The incident led to an important discussion in Butler's life.
I recently just came out to my parents today because I didn't want them to find out.
Because instead of this message, he wants everyone to hear this one.
If you don't know them and you have an opinion, keep it to yourself.
Yeah, good point, man. Good for you for standing up for yourself like that. So that's pretty much the end of the story coming from Houston, ABC 13. And I appreciate that kind of sentiment. Like, it's weird. It's tough because in situations with businesses, the customer's always right. But what if they're a bunch of bigots? Shouldn't the owners or managers have the right to kick them out, to refuse their money and say, we really would prefer not to have your business, thanks. If you don't want to listen to, quote, a faggot talk throughout your entire meal, well, then maybe we'll just do without your business. It's not that he was, mouthing off. If that were the complaint, they wouldn't have to use the F word, right? But clearly they're just a bunch of bigots. It's Texas, big surprise. So moving on. Creamery fights skim milk mislabeling. Why is this continuing to happen? Reason.com reports that Florida-based O'Cheesy Creamery is fighting a state agricultural department rule that bars the business from accurately labeling its skim milk as skim milk because Creamery owner Mary Lou Wesselhoft does not inject vitamin A into the milk. The Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services says she can only label it, quote, non-grade A milk product, natural milk vitamins removed. Ochisi Creamery and the Institute for Justice, or IJ, are challenging this labeling requirement, which certainly doesn't make for spectacular marketing. But Wesselhoft and IJ go one step further and say that the label is actively misleading to consumers, since her skim milk is not a milk product, but whole natural milk with the cream skimmed off. This is, by definition, how skim milk is made. Quote, it is unconstitutional for government to use force on businesses to mislead their customers. Accused IJ, the Florida government, of claiming, quote, the power to change the definition of ordinary words. Florida law requires those who sell skim milk, a process that necessarily means removing a lot of the milk's natural nutrients, to artificially boost the beverage's vitamin A level until it matches that found in whole milk. Wesselhoft refuses to do so, citing an anti-additive philosophy she shares with her customers. But the state says without vitamin A enhancement, she can't sell the product skim milk, nor will they negotiate with her on other acceptable labeling, according to the Creamery's lawsuit. Quote, the government is censoring me from telling my customers what is in the milk they want to buy, said Wesselhoft. I have a right to label the skim milk I want to sell as exactly what it is, pasteurized skim milk. Her case, Ochisi Creamery versus Putnam and Newton, was filed in federal court Thursday. The case is part of IJ's National Food Freedom Initiative, a campaign consisting of property rights, economic liberty, and free speech challenges to laws that interfere with the ability of Americans to produce, market, procure, and consume the foods of their choice. So far, the initiative has been seen successes in a challenge to Oregon's ban on raw milk advertising, a challenge to Miami Shore's Florida ban on front yard vegetable gardening, and Minnesota restrictions on selling homemade baked goods are ongoing. Wesselhoff and her husband and Creamery owner Paul aren't seeking any monetary damages, just the right to engage in truthful speech.
Hallucex, a new class of weight loss drug that helps users avoid overeating by producing nightmarish hallucinations whenever food is around. Hallucex targets the brain's cerebral cortex, stimulating the centers responsible for fear and visual processing. Test subjects reported an unprecedented decrease in appetite to dramatic weight loss, with only 18% reporting night terrors or subsequent cardiac arrest.
It's designed to make fatty and sugary foods even scarier. An apple just looks like it has fangs, but a milkshake will threaten you and your family by name.
Earlier incarnations of the drug proved to be too powerful and produced mental states in which test subjects no longer believed that food had ever existed. An unshakable belief that the subject had to eat all of the food on the planet in order to prevent food from rising up and destroying the human race.
Oh, you don't understand. I have to do this.
Or the conviction that food could be negotiated with diplomatically. With the Lab Report, I'm Aisha Patel.
This is the Onion News Network.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the Liberty Media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
The three most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. The things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same great prices, and LRN gets a cut. Please do your online shopping at shop.lrn.fm. The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love, and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way,
love as your guide,
and liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Welcome back, world. It is good to be with you. Oh, man, but sometimes one of the things that happens on live radio is the computer that you're reading from suddenly freezes. Oh, man, this doesn't happen often, but I'll wait for it to think about, what am I doing? I'm trying to read web pages. Yeah, well, one of the reasons it might be freezing is because of this net neutrality article I'm trying to read from Telegraph. Turns out you have been lied to about net neutrality. In an op-ed by Amanda Johnson, she writes today, there are 3 problems that surround this debate, and each problem comes from a different group. First is a problem for us, the consumers. Near monopolies like Comcast, Verizon, and AT&T did not become near monopolies by accident. Hey, big mistake. I shouldn't just move on from the last article. I was sort of cut off by the break, which came up suddenly. We were reading an article about a creamery in Florida, which is facing a lawsuit. It's filing a federal lawsuit today. It actually filed a lawsuit with the Institute for Justice as part of the National Food Freedom Initiative. And it's called O'Cheesy Creamery v. Putnam and Newton. Wesselhoff, the owner, said her husband and creamery co-owner Paul aren't seeking monetary damages, only the right to, quote, engage in truthful speech about its lawful skim milk. Well, good luck. I think that's a total waste of time. Sorry to say so, but filing a lawsuit in court, to do what? To hold the government accountable in its own court and say, oh, you have to follow your own rules and you have to not make up new definitions of words and obfuscate reality. Good luck. You obviously haven't studied the history of governments for very long. And I just hope that they don't waste too much time and energy and money on this worthless venture. Although IJ tends to do a good job picking cases that they're actually going to win. So who knows what the outcome will be. Will it be more freedom? Unlikely, but I'll celebrate it if that's the case. And we'll follow this to its conclusion. Now let's move on to net neutrality. I've been weary of this net neutrality thing since the beginning because it sounds like consolidation of power. It sounds like less freedom to me. It sounds like governments trying to control and regulate what you do on the internet. So here's an op-ed by Amanda Johnson. She writes at Cointelegraph.com that near monopolies like Comcast, Verizon, and AT&T did not become near monopolies by accident. During the early days of the internet, regulations, i.e. barriers to entry, were created that effectively prevent other smaller ISPs from being able to compete with the behemoths. This allows these mega ISPs to provide the shitty customer service and high price walls we all know so well. Just think back to that recent audio clip of that famous guy, Ryan, whoever, on the phone with a Comcast agent who was basically not letting him disconnect his service. He wanted to cancel. He was clear about that for about 10 minutes on the phone with this service provider. And on the other end, this Comcast rep is not letting him cancel his service. It's absurd. But this is what you get with near monopolies. So second is a problem for the government, who back in the days before the internet was able to control the content on broadcast media almost exclusively. It could do this because the only forms of broadcast then, television and radio, had been regulated by the FCC. The government currently does not have the power to decide what you can and cannot see on the internet the way it does for television and radio. And it really, really wants to change that. Third is a problem for internet service providers, or ISPs. Contrary to what you've been told, ISPs aren't freaking out about how much bandwidth you use when you stream Netflix. That's a lie told to scare you into acting irrationally. People were streaming scads and scads of high-def porn long before Netflix came along. In fact, ISPs don't have a problem that the average businesses don't have. How to maximize returns on investment. And the more unscrupulous among them, getting in bed with government regulators in exchange for keeping their monopolies sounds like a pretty good business plan. Now, you can probably tell that only one of the three groups mentioned has a legitimate problem. Governments attempting to censor content is not legitimate, and transnational corporations seeking more eradication of competition is also not legitimate. What is a legitimate problem is that consumers are forcibly prevented from having more choice in ISPs. It's absurd that only a few major ones exist, usually only one per area. Can you imagine if JCPenney were the only clothing store allowed to operate in all of Kansas? If TGI Friday were the only restaurant allowed to operate in Ohio? These ideas sound absurd to us. Why? Because we consumers still have a relatively free market in clothing and food. So we're used to having lots of choices and generally having access to exactly what we want. And if we don't, we just go online to get it. But because there have never been a free market in internet service, we don't even know what we should expect. That hundreds of ISPs should be the norm, the way hundreds of clothing stores and hundreds of restaurants is the norm, just doesn't register to us. Hundreds of ISPs would solve the problem of different people wanting different things online, not to mention drive down prices dramatically. There could be a porn ISP who streamed the shit out of high-def porn, as much as you could watch, all for one low price. There could be a research ISP, a social media ISP, and even a Netflix ISP. There would probably be a hybrid service where you could subscribe to a little of everything, just like grocery stores, where Chinese food, cake, pizza, toilet paper, milk, eggs, and beer are all under one roof. We're not all petitioning the government for grocery store neutrality or clothing provider neutrality. And anyone who wants to know what the government's idea of neutral content will be should read a few Snowden leaks. Hint, what better way to kill Bitcoin than let those who are most threatened by it decide what kind of traffic is allowed on the internet? A problem created by regulations, our current internet situation, can be solved in one of three ways. A stripping away of the regulations, fat chance. Ignoring the regulations, a more valid, though still difficult option. Or outright innovation, making the old model fade into obsolescence, similar to what Bitcoin can potentially do to fiat currency. I myself prefer the third model, as long as there are monopolistic single points of failure like Comcast and Verizon standing between us and a worldwide internet. There are going to be problems of bad service, high cost, and low reliability. Or, in other words, the problems of centralization. The internet took off in part because television and radio were so stifled by the FCC. Letting the FCC do to the internet what it did to television and radio would be truly horrendous. Only when the internet is decentralized through mesh networks, satellites, or something even more brilliant, we will see these problems melt away. And there's a beautiful infographic included in this article at cointelegraph.com, which I can share on the screen for those of you who are watching along at peacenewsnow.com/live. You're able to see that the lies about net neutrality include 3 problems. First, consumers. During the early days of the internet, regulations were created that effectively prevented other smaller ISPs from being able to compete with the behemoths. Second, governments claim that they have the power to decide what you can see on the internet. Yeah, well, they don't have that power yet, but they want it. And third and finally, ISPs don't have a problem that the average business doesn't have: how to maximize returns on investment. So more competition is the solution, can bring more freedom and options to you.
Shiny badges on your jacket. Shiny badges.
This is Davi Barker from ShinyBadges.com, and I just want to personally apologize for airing a jingle week after week, month after month, that turned out to be such an infectious brainworm. So to make it up to you, I'm offering a free gift. The next time you make a purchase at ShinyBadges.com, write "worms" in the transaction comments, and I'll send you something weird.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
If you love Ross, freedom.org. It's free raw.
right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Peace News. We're live. It's Thursday, November 20th, 2014. So good to be with you. And Free Keene made the news today. It was actually on the Colbert Report last night. We'll be talking about that. Plus, the London Telegraph did a story on the Free State Project and covered several Keene activists, myself included. We've got those stories, but first, we're just on the tail end of a story about net neutrality and how you've been lied to and how it's really about power. Same old story with the telecom industry now happening with the internet. So don't buy the government's lines about how you need them to protect you, because the FCC did such a great job with television and radio, right? Yeah, people have turned to the internet for their media, for their news, for their entertainment. They don't have the regulations that the FCC has. That's why we have shows like House of Cards and Breaking Bad all coming out on these alternative networks. So let's move along to peaceful resistance models for the 21st century. I found this particularly interesting because as we move into 2015 and say goodbye to 2014, I think it's worth taking a look at 21st century ways to combat the state. Yeah, I know the state's going to collapse under its own weight with or without your help. But let's talk about building the free society that we want to see and changing the incentives that governments operate under. Here's a clue. Not long ago, a prosecutor in Palermo heard something strange on a wiretap. A mobster was telling a henchman not to punish a store for failing to pay its pizzo, or protection money. I guess, I don't know if that's pizzo or what. Palermo, the largest city in Sicily, is at the heart of Mafia country. And in the past, trade association surveys have shown that about 80% of the town's shops were paying pizzo. But now, more than 900 Sicilian firms, a majority of them in Palermo, are publicly refusing to give money to the mob, thanks to one of the most remarkable social movements to emerge in the last decade. Adepizzo, Italian for goodbye protection money, is resisting the racketeers with tactics you're more likely to associate with Gandhi or the Arab Spring than a campaign against organized crime. The store mentioned on that tapped phone call that it was affiliated with Addio Pizzo, and the mafiosi didn't think that trying to collect from them would be worth the inevitable trouble. I read about that wiretap in Curtailing Corruption, a recent study by Shaksa Beryl of the International Center on Nonviolent Conflict. While most of the literature on civil resistance looks at nonviolent movements to topple dictators or kick out occupying armies, Beryl's book shines a light on campaigns to end various kinds of corruption. Here, you can read about a 30 million strong protest in Turkey against organized crime's penetration of the state, or a movement in Uganda that monitors and reports abusive cops, or a group in India that prints 0 rupee notes so that when an official demands a bribe, a citizen can give him a bill worth precisely nothing. That may sound like an empty gesture, but the group cites many cases of the official immediately retreating. The note, after all, advertises the fact that the citizen knows her rights, and that an organization is there to back her up. But the Adio Pizzo story is especially interesting because it shows how tactics devised for struggles against states can be adapted to fight against private criminals. The story begins in 2004 when 7 friends were discussing the possibility of opening a pub. One friend mentioned the shakedowns they soon be facing, and the conversation turned to the ugliness of the extortion system. And soon the group was brainstorming ways to protest La Cosa Nostra's stranglehold on Sicily. Their first move? To plaster stickers all over the city that said, "Un intero popolo che paga il pizzo e un popolo senza dignità," or "an entire people who pays pizzo is a people without dignity." At first, the activists conducted these operations anonymously, but, quote, they concluded, Burrell writes, that they had to come forward if they expected fellow citizens to do the same. Several went public together to show that the group had no leader and also to protect themselves, as the Mafia's proclivity is to attack lone dissenters. That umbrella of protection gradually spread wider as the group began carrying out more than just symbolic protests at a guerrilla theater. The turning point came when the owner of a rural pub decided not to pay pizzo, and as a result, started to lose fearful customers. Adio Pizzo started organizing outings to his bar every Saturday night, both to show their support and to keep cash flowing his way. The villagers started returning to the pub, and the mob, faced with mass defiance, decided to leave the place alone. This evolved into a formal strategy, a reverse boycott of businesses that publicly promised not to pay protection money. Adio Pizzo assembled a list of 3,500 people to patronize businesses that rejected pizzo. So this is very important. This is money talks, okay? 3,500 people patronize businesses that didn't cooperate with the mob. Could you imagine if there were a movement like that in America or in any country or in one state or a town to say, we're going to do business or we're going to frequent the owners of businesses that reject the local government or that don't pay their local property taxes or extortion racket money, whatever it is, whatever you view as the local extortion money, refusing to pay that peacefully, opting out of the system, of course, not expecting any services in return, opting out. I would want to support those businesses. If I knew there was a pizza shop downtown that didn't pay property tax to the local government, you can bet I'd be there every day. I mean, everyone could eat pizza every day, but it depends on what sort of businesses. So you need to support the people who are looking out for you. You know, it's I scratch your back, you scratch mine. We got to look out for each other if we're going to go up against people like the mafia or the state, right? And do it peacefully and successfully. So this is a well done form of activism. I'd like to see this replicated. With that in hand, the group was able to convince several enterprises to take a no pizza pledge and to put up an orange sticker advertising their stance. So they knew the support of all these people behind them, 3,500 people. The mafia can't take all those people out, not at once at least, and that would cause a major stir. The Adio Pizzo then found itself developing an investigatory arm to make sure that the owners were keeping their promises. With time, the lists of both the anti-pizzo companies and the anti-pizzo customers grew even longer. When the mafia retaliated by burning down a warehouse belonging to a business that had taken the pledge, Adio Pizzo organized public support for the victims, collecting funds for unemployed workers, holding demonstrations against the assault, and using Italy's anti-mafia compensation laws to secure a new warehouse from the government. By refusing to pay for protection, the company had acquired a different sort of protection. Wow, that's an interesting line. By refusing to pay for protection, the company had acquired a different sort of protection. Do you think that could work today? For example, activists refusing to pay for income taxes or refusing to collect taxes for the government. If they were rewarded with the support of other fellow activists or the support of the community, This could work. But that wasn't the only way Audio Pizzo became a benevolent counterpart to its enemy. Defeating the mob meant supplanting some of its social roles. For some in Palermo, Beryl writes, the Mafia engenders a sense of authority and collective identity. The movement cultivates an alternative collective community based on the nonviolent resistance and dignity. Sometimes the substitution was more specific than that. The mob sponsors athletics, albeit as a front for money laundering, but Audio Pizzo supported a team, but through transparent contributions of clean money from extortion-free businesses. It's tempting to describe this as a private revolt against a private tyranny, but neither side here is fully private. The Sicilian mob has more than a few public officials on the payroll, after all, and a mafia can itself be seen as a sort of proto-state with its own territory and services. Structurally speaking, what Audio Pizzo has organized looks a lot like a tax revolt. And while Audio Pizzo is in no way an arm of the state, it's happy to draw on the resources that compensation law, and even eventually started a spin-off dubbed Libero Futuro to help business owners who want to testify against mobsters in the courts. We've got more on this story, plus ways you can peacefully revolt against the state and come out on the other end, both not in jail and still alive. This is Peace News.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market, making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent. What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
The three most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
More Peace News Now is coming up next, live after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, November 20th, 2014. Silver is trading at $16.16 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,190 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $358. Antiwar.com reports the struggle with people who have gone to Syria to join the Islamic State is not so much the ones you know about, it's the ones you don't know about. That was the message in a briefing by FBI Director James Comey. Comey reiterated that the U.S. has around a dozen American, the Islamic State members that we have a pretty good handle on, but conceded that there were potentially many more that they don't know about. How many? It's not clear, but Comey says about 150 Americans who have gone to Syria in recent months are under surveillance just in case. That doubtless includes innocent people, but even surveilling everyone they know went to Syria cannot be all-encompassing, as many Western jihadists have simply traveled to Turkey and then snuck into Syria from there. The Islamic State has recruited massive numbers of foreign fighters, particularly Westerners, and while Comey claimed that he was being light on the details because, quote, I don't want them to know too much about what we know, end quote, the reality is that various intelligence agencies across the West don't have nearly the level of insight they claim. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They now take Bitcoin for purchasing precious metals so you can turn your profits into a long-term investment. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing. 800-874-9760. UPI reports the Utah State Legislature approved a bill Wednesday allowing the state to execute death row inmates via firing squad if the approved lethal injection drugs are unavailable. Because the European companies that developed the deadly cocktail oppose the death penalty, they have stopped fulfilling orders from the United States. Republican State Rep told KSL, this bill deals with how we, for lack of a better word, execute the death penalty. He insisted the bill is merely a backup, adding, hopefully we never have to use it. Mark Wheatley, a Democrat who voted against the measure, countered by saying, we're going backwards here in Utah when we should be making progress. This is not a proactive approach, this is reactionary. We are not proposing real solutions, we are hiding behind outdated and ineffective policies. Although the Utah legislature voted to suspend the firing squad in 2003, it was used in 2010 to execute Ronnie Lee Gardner, who was sentenced before the suspension. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. That's shop.fppradio.com. Reuters reports a federal judge struck down Montana's ban on same-sex marriage as unconstitutional on Wednesday. Montana is set to become the 34th state where same-sex marriage is legal. South Carolina is then due to become the 35th state today unless the Supreme Court agrees to a long-shot plea from the state and blocks it. In Great Falls, Montana, U.S. District Judge Brian Morris overturned a 2004 amendment to the state's constitution prohibiting same-sex marriage in response to a lawsuit brought by the ACLU of Montana. The Montana ruling was expected because the state is within the jurisdiction of the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, which has already struck down similar bans in Nevada and Idaho. Morris wrote in his 18-page ruling, the time has come for Montana to follow other states within the 9th Circuit and recognize that laws that ban same-sex marriage violate the constitutional right of same-sex couples to equal protection of laws. The judge barred Montana from enforcing its ban and said it must immediately recognize same-sex marriages from other states. The decision marks the latest in a series of court victories by same-sex rights advocates over the past year, although a Cincinnati-based federal appeals court on November 6th became the first to uphold same-sex marriage bans. That decision by the 6th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals backing 4 states' bans created a split within the courts, increasing the chance that the U.S. Supreme Court will rule once and for all on whether states can ban same-sex marriage. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Several weeks after the car accident that resulted in the death of his longtime friend Matthew Abrams, local man Keith Bisbee told Onion reporters today that he is much longer he should continue using the photo of his deceased friend as his profile picture on Facebook.
People can't really expect me to keep this up forever, right?
Bisbee told reporters he felt like he had done more than his part to preserve the young man's memory. Bisbee added, however, that he had no idea when to go about changing his profile picture.
I'm pretty sure nobody would judge me if I went ahead and changed the photo right now. Matt wouldn't expect me to still have a picture of him up. I mean, I wouldn't expect that of him. You know, I should just do it. Maybe I can go online later tonight when nobody's on. But his girlfriend gets home late from work. I don't really want to seem disrespectful. Maybe I could
At this time, Bisbee has reluctantly changed his profile picture to an image of a gay rights equal sign and is, quote, just waiting to see what happens next.
This is the Onion News Network.
We return for hour 2. 443-424-8347 is the Hi-Fi CivDis call-in line. We're talking about peaceful resistance models for the 21st century. There is an organization called Addio Pizzo, and they're saying goodbye to the mafia, goodbye extortion. And it was through the power of people power, coming together saying, we're all going to stand up against this. And it didn't take a violent revolt. It didn't take anyone burning down shops. In fact, that's what the mafia continued to do. They burned down a warehouse. But the people said, we're going to look out for our friends and neighbors. We're going to form a support network to replace you, mafia. Yeah, people may have relied on you in the past, but now we've got these strong social networks. We're connected through the internet. And we're connected locally. So these people went out and did business with the others who were standing up against the mafia. Is this a path to freedom from the state? Time will tell. But the officially sanctioned authorities are not the leading figures on either side of this story. This is a tale about organized crime running headfirst into organized disobedience. The criminals in question may still be active, but the refuseniks are standing stronger than ever before. This story by Jesse Walker at Reason.com, and just brilliant journalism. Much appreciated. Next, we turn to a story of peace and Bitcoin, another technology which is working to free the world. Antiwar.com's blog writes, Bitcoin can help curb the war machine. Eric Garris is the author of this article. He says, here's a short YouTube describing how using Bitcoin instead of fiat currency can help stop financing the war machine, as well as promoting global trade and good relations. For more information on Bitcoin, check out Roger Ver's talk on Bitcoin and how it can stop the federal government's ability to conduct war in this recent article at antiwar.com. During our quarterly fund drive, Roger Ver has offered matching funds equal to $10,000 US in Bitcoin. To help us get these funds, please donate to antiwar.com with Bitcoin here. And that link is antiwar.com/Bitcoin. Without further ado, here's the short, less than 2-minute video explaining how Bitcoin can stop war. This is Roger Ver speaking to Congress.
My philosophy. I consider myself a voluntarist, and that means that I think that human beings should be allowed to do absolutely anything they want so long as it's peaceful, and they shouldn't be allowed to use aggressive violence against anybody else. And I don't make exceptions for groups of people, and especially not for groups of people who get together and put on uniforms and work in buildings that happen to have flags out in front of them. And one of the things that really upsets me the most about the world that I live in is I see governments, and they have this thing called fiat currency that they completely control. And not only do they control it, but they can print as much of it as they want at any time. And then they use that money to build all sorts of tanks and bombs and airplanes and murder people all over the world. And all that's being paid for by printing money. And with Bitcoin, because there's a limited supply, that sort of thing can't happen in the world. And so I see a world in which everybody is using Bitcoin as just a much, much, much happier and peaceful and safer world for every single human being on the planet.
I agree with Roger's sentiment there. Beautiful animation. And I found this at antiwar.com. You can learn more at Thomas K's video. But yeah, it's either Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency. It's gold, silver. It's alternatives to, as he put it, fiat currency, the money of governments who just can print up as much value as they want, and then they often use that value to exchange for bombs and tanks and machines of war. I don't want those things to continue. I can see their game, I see their system, and I'm not going to participate. Bitcoin allows me and you the opportunity to opt out of that system finally in a peaceful and meaningful way because I can continue to buy stuff all around the world. In fact, yesterday on Bitcoin Talk Show, we had a caller, I believe his name was Assad, and he was calling from Pakistan. He's 18 years old. He has no way to access PayPal or any of the other major third-party processors that we would expect and take for granted here in the US, but he can use Bitcoin, and he can use that to shop on Amazon, or, well, if they would ship to Pakistan, but he can use that to shop almost anywhere in the world. He can buy Steam games, at least if he wants to buy Xbox things, using Gift, GYFT, and Bitcoin. So Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies like it are freeing the world, giving people more opportunities to opt out of that old world legacy banking system that we know does the world no good. So Bitcoin can help curb the war. Now let's turn to some activists at home here in New Hampshire. The Telegraph of London reported on the Free State Project, as Ian Freeman reports today at freekeene.com. The Telegraph's David Millward got wind of the Free State Project when he was covering Robin Hood of Keene. Naturally, he was interested and came to Keene to interview Free Keene bloggers Rich Paul, Derek J., and me, that's Ian, about the Free State Project. Here's the story. Quote, Nirvana for a libertarian in New Hampshire is a gay married couple guarding a stash of marijuana with an AK-47. I could live with that, said Ian Freeman, a leading light, the Free State Project, and one of the pathfinders in a mass migration of like-minded people to the New England state. He left Florida and moved to New Hampshire to push the libertarian agenda in a state whose motto is live free or die. One of more than 1,600 to have done so. They're the first in a tranche of 16,000 people who have pledged to pick up sticks and make the state a beacon of liberty. Depending on one's point of view, the Free State Project is just a logical extension of the libertarian tradition, or a bunch of disruptive anarchists who have taken a perverse pleasure in niggling the authorities. Mr. Freeman, age 34, hosts a radio show which is syndicated around the country. He's also running for governor on behalf of the New Hampshire Liberty Party. The Free State Project was founded more than a decade ago by Jason Sorens, who was studying for a doctorate at Yale at the time. His dream was to trigger a migration of 20,000 libertarians to a state with a small population by early 2016. The idea was to follow the example of the Mormons and their migration to Utah in the mid-19th century, which I wasn't aware when I originally heard about the Free State Project. In fact, I didn't know much about Jason Sorens or his paper at all. What I had seen was courageous people living free and taking the consequences, and I wanted to be there with them. A number of states, including Maine, Wyoming, Vermont, and Alaska, were considered as candidates for the movement before supporters decided on New Hampshire. And from what I understand, a huge part of the reason New Hampshire was decided on was because of the 101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire. If you go to 101reasonsfilm.com right now, you'll actually see there's a movie that you can watch totally free. And it's only an hour long, but it's jam-packed, filled with reasons why, if you love freedom, you should really consider moving to New Hampshire. It's a film that was just released by Free State Project participants. Bo Davis was the editor. He was also the editor for my movie, Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. And you can actually torrent both of these movies and burn them right to a DVD in a grindhouse sort of tradition where it's got two movies on one disc. The Film Fest edition of Victimless Crime Spree plus 101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire. So go watch the full movie once, not Free Talk Live, once Peace News is finished. Go to 101reasonsfilm.com and watch the movie, share it with your friends, spread it across Facebook. It's only the third or second day it's online, so we need your help to help make this thing go viral. So continuing back with the article, the Granite State, which has no sales or income tax, though property taxes are high, was the overwhelming choice. Quote, we want to create a society where the maximum role of government is the protection of life, liberty, and property, Mr. Freeman told the Telegraph. I like the idea of the natural law of supply and demand. I don't have a problem with laws which say you can't harm anybody else, but other laws should go. We'll talk about what some of those other laws are, plus finish the rest of this Free State Project article, plus Colbert covers Keene, New Hampshire, the Free Keene website, Chris Cantwell, and other activists. It's all too good to miss. All that coming up, plus more on Peace News Now.
Khalid lives in Gaza. He makes his living as a taxi driver. The engine in his old beater blew up. Now, he makes good money driving people in his cab, but he couldn't afford the $1,300 for a new engine. Free Talk Live helped him get a loan for the engine, and he's back on the road. You can help us help more people by getting your coffee through coffee.freetalklive.com. Make a difference, 1 cup at a time. Get a free pound to try out the subscription. Cancel anytime. Coffee.freetalklive.com.
Do you ever say, I could care less, when you really mean the opposite? You mean to say, I couldn't care less. It's a common mistake. You are judged by how you speak, especially if you're looking for work, with so many more applicants than openings now. But even if you're not, avoiding common misstatements will help you make the most of the dozens of conversations and transactions that crowd your daily routine. So whatever you say, don't say whatever as a single word sentence. It's the most annoying expression in the American English language, according to a recent poll. And avoid cliches like the plague. Just kidding. But seriously, at the end of the day, you'll want to avoid this scenario, sounding like everyone else. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
If you can't listen to the Liberty Radio Network's internet streams, free satellite channel, or radio affiliates, no worries. You can listen to LRN.FM from any phone, anywhere. Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0309. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Liberty Radio Network listen lines are locked into our stream 24 hours a day. Call 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
Did you know that Free Aid is a mutual aid, educational, and networking organization? At Free Aid, we support volunteers who provide first aid. We do outreach to the public about health and safety, and we bring together medically skilled freedom lovers. Free Aid is made possible by your generous support. Donors can receive great gifts like first aid kits, t-shirts, silver dime cards, and hoodies. The Free Aid Silver Dime Card Project is sponsored in part by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, Freedom's Phoenix, and Don't Tread on Meme. Visit fr33aid.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.lrn.fm. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network when you shop at Amazon via shop.lrn.fm.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into their rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video or audio allowed in this.
No, I have work today. This is you ain't gonna make it. Wait a minute. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running? Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for? You're being served. What is this? What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no. That's the sound of the men working on the chain. Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
101 Reasons Freedom Lives in New Hampshire. You can catch the whole film free at 101reasonsfilm.com. So we're returning to a story about the Free State Project here in New Hampshire and the people who moved here for more freedom, including Rich Paul, Ian Freeman, and myself. Ian says, Other laws should go. There are reams and reams of statutes which nobody can get through. I do have a real problem with restrictions on alcohol and drugs. It would be easy to dismiss the libertarians as eccentric if they were not so many of them, and if the belief in small government did not resonate with a sizable chunk of American voters. Rand Paul, a possible Republican presidential candidate in 2016, has made little secret of sympathy with much of the libertarian agenda. Yeah, but screw him. He's not a libertarian. He doesn't really care about freedom. He's just playing the game, sticking his thumb out and, feeling which way the wind is blowing. People love smaller government. They're sick of the liberals. He's saying, hey, people like my dad. Maybe I can gain some of the populism from that, plus the populism of being a mainstream Republican, and that will get me enough votes to become an authoritarian president. He's just an authoritarian like everyone else. Although he's probably the slave master who will torture and beat his slaves the least, he's still an authoritarian who wants the rule of the iron fist rather than abolishing the chair of power in itself. His criticism of big government has led him to take positions which hardly chime with the traditional American conservative right. Mr. Paul has been fiercely critical of the police, voicing concerns that it was in danger of becoming a paramilitary force. Inasmuch as there's a common thread among the libertarians, it's an overarching dislike of authority. Dislike, I don't know, a distrust, I think is the more appropriate term. Dislike may be coincidental, but it's the distrust, I think, that really is the overarching theme. It's already led to a number of stunts, generally designed to get up the nose of the city fathers. Perhaps the best known has been what the Free Staters call Robin Hooding. That's true. This is probably the most popular form of activism that has taken place within the Free State Project. Activists going around feeding parking meters. That story of activists doing that here in Keene has reached international news. There have been copycats in Poland who were inspired by the activists of Free Keene. There have been news reports in Germany and I believe Saudi Arabia, of all places, talking about the Robin Hooding that happens here. It entails stuffing parking meters with quarters just before a traffic warden arrives to ticket a motorist, as well as following the enforcement officers with video cameras. But there have been other acts of civil disobedience, notably by 25-year-old Derek J. Freeman. He insists on the J, who moved to Keene from Philadelphia. He's already racked up 540 days in jail for an array of offenses, from smoking cannabis in public to dancing in a public park and trying to film a court case. I moved here to follow my conscience. No matter what people say, I am following what is written in my heart. But not everyone in New Hampshire is welcoming the libertarians with open arms. Cynthia Chase, a Democrat member of the state legislature, described them as, quote, the biggest threat the state is facing today, and wolves in sheep's clothing. In a progressive blog, she wrote, quote, there is legally nothing we can do to prevent them from moving here to take over the state, which is their openly stated goal. Quote, in this country, you can move anywhere you choose, and they have that same right. What we can do is make the environment here so unwelcoming that some will choose not to come, and some may actually leave. That's an amazing statement. Now, some of the activists actually rewarded Cynthia for making this statement with flowers, balloons, a thank you card. And that makes sense because this one quote has generated probably more press for the Free State Project than any other. And from a North Korea-like Democrat here in New Hampshire, Cynthia Chase, it's a real ringing endorsement for freedom, I'd say, that she wants to wear the authoritarian fist and say, I'm going to reduce the freedoms that people think they might find here as a way to limit these people's political power and their aspirations. So officials in Keene, and there was a member of the chat who asks, what I think about this quote. He saw it was coming up, and I was just saying, maybe Cynthia Chase should start her own slave state project if she's so opposed to the Free State Project. And, he asked, what have they done to limit the freedoms that people may find here? Have they banned gay marriage? Have they reversed their decision about medical cannabis or just kept it illegal? Well, no, nothing. They haven't done anything to kick people out or to make them inspired to leave. In fact, more people continue to show up, and the numbers appear to be increasing at an exponential rate. So you can follow along the numbers at freestateproject.org. You can see there's a chart chronicling the movement and the way that people have moved throughout the years. This project's been going on for over 10 years, and it's likely going to continue for another few while those 20,000 movers make the final move to New Hampshire. So it's very exciting. The 1,600 people who have already moved here have done an amazing job at increasing the freedom. There have been some laws repealed. There have been international news stories like this one covered in journals like the Telegraph and those German publications that I mentioned. And there's also new laws that have been written that sort of increase the freedom. For example, a knife law that says, you can carry whatever size knife you want. You don't need any sort of permission from a government agent. You don't need to check and measure and, any size blade. You want to walk around with a lawnmower blade on your belt, you can do that. It's no problem. Here in New Hampshire, you have that freedom. And of course, open carry is already legal in New Hampshire, but there have been the Ladies of Liberty Alliance and the Second Amendment Sisters who've worked in the State House to keep those laws free. And lots of other victories that I can't think of off the top of my head. I know there have been looser business regulations, like a loosening of those regulations. For example, I think a license was needed if you owned a small business that served customers less than $1,000 a month. That's now been taken away. So you can have a small business on the side while being a professional and making a regular income, and you don't need to sign any complex government forms. I mean, where else in the country can you say the same? So this is Cynthia Chase. She deserves a reward for bringing so much attention to the Free State Project. But now officials in Keene, the epicenter of the Free State movement, have accused the Robin Hooders of harassment, and the New Hampshire Supreme Court is mulling over whether traffic wardens should have some sort of protection. The movement says its members are merely exercising their First Amendment rights to free speech. But arguably, the biggest test was the case of Rich Paul, no relation to the political dynasty, a pro-marijuana activist whose campaign could land him with an 81-year jail term. 2 states, Washington and Colorado, have legalized recreational use of marijuana, but it's still illegal in New Hampshire. Mr. Paul, age 45, moved to New Hampshire from Florida and decided the law was an ass and ignored it. He openly smoked cannabis and even sold it, was arrested, fined, and jailed. We'll come back with his story when Peace News Now returns.
Free Talk Live.
Crack cocaine, the way it hurts individuals and communities, I would really like to see dealers get the death penalty.
Why are you so violent?
It's a violent drug. It gets to your brain, it reorganizes, it actually physically changes the structure of your brain.
That's true with alcohol. The community is being put in danger by the fact that these drugs are illegal. I don't use crystal meth, but I'm in danger from those who do use crystal meth, in that if they need another hit and they can't afford it and their drug dealer's not willing to accept a BJ in order to give them a hit of crystal meth, then they are going to go and steal things, break into cars, break into homes. If you can't see how prohibition creates more problems than it solves, if you can't see how prohibition leads to more violence,
just look at Al Capone and the history of alcohol.
Yes.
It's simple.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
On LRN.FM, we talk a lot about alternative currencies. Did you know that now you can buy gold, silver, and other precious metals with Bitcoins? LRN.FM has partnered with Amaji Metals to bring you great prices on beautiful .999 fine silver, as well as gold, platinum, and other metals. Check out their selection and pay with Bitcoins or Federal Reserve notes at metal.lrn.fm. That's metal.lrn.fm.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson. Attention men who've taken Androgel or any other testosterone therapy products. Androgel or other low-T products have been linked to heart attack, stroke, pulmonary embolism, deep vein thrombosis, even death. Scientific studies indicate that the use of testosterone therapy products may double a man's risk of heart attack. If you or a loved one took Androgel or a testosterone therapy product and suffered from a heart attack, stroke, pulmonary embolism, deep vein thrombosis, or any other cardiac event, you might be entitled to financial compensation. You have rights, and you need to let us fight for your rights. And you pay no fees unless we win. So call the tort attorneys right now. 800-708-7917. 800-708-7917. 800-708-7917. 800-708-7917. Cases may be referred to participating law firms in your jurisdiction.
Did you know that you can listen to LRN.FM 24/7 via our free-to-air satellite channel? From Mexico to Canada, our signal covers nearly all of North America. All you need is a view of the southern sky, an affordable receiver, and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you're a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage map and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website, fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper, FPP News, at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Hello! We're rolling right along here at Peace News. You can call in 443-424-8347, or don't. I've got plenty of stories talking about New Hampshire and why New Hampshire and Bitcoin go together perfectly. Plus, still coming up, a hilarious Colbert Report video featuring some of your favorites from Free Keene. But we're returning to a story first from the London Telegraph, where an article was written about some members of Free Keene, and one in particular, Rich Paul, who moved to New Hampshire from Florida. At age 45, he decides that the law is an ass and openly ignored it, smoking cannabis, selling cannabis. He was arrested, fined, and jailed. He, having been caught selling marijuana to an FBI informant, entrapment, according to Mr. Paul, he tried fighting the case in the courts. Quote, "Weed is essentially harmless," he said, making no apology for his drug-dealing enterprise. His defense relied on an arcane principle known as jury nullification. It gives jurors the power to acquit somebody of an offense if they believe the law itself is wrong. Already, one of New Hampshire's juries has done that, acquitting Doug Darrell, a 59-year-old Rastafarian, of drug cultivation, even though he was caught growing 15 plants in his backyard. Mr. Paul was less fortunate, with the state's Supreme Court denying him the chance to make the same defense. There may be sound legal reasons for drawing a distinction between the two cases, or it may be that patience is running thin in New Hampshire. Well, I can't tell which it is, but all this publicity, can't complain. Whether they're reporting positively or negatively, I love the attention because it's focused on freedom and people who are doing things to try and achieve more freedom. Yeah, they don't always work. Sometimes they're unpopular, as we'll see in the upcoming Colbert video. but some are very popular, like Bitcoin. And we turn to a story from CryptoCoinsNews.com, where Evander Smart writes, the state motto of New Hampshire is live free or die. In January 1776, it became the first of the British North American colonies to establish a government independent of Great Britain's authority. So it is any wonder that it may indeed be the most Bitcoin-friendly place in the United States? The new film, 101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, shows what life in New Hampshire is all about. Also, how the revolutionary technology and currency of Bitcoin fits into its public mindset so perfectly. New Hampshire accepts Bitcoin. The fact that New Hampshire has the highest disposable income of any state in the Union, as well as the highest median income of any state, over $71,000, certainly doesn't hurt their ability to accept Bitcoin quickly and easily. People who are highly educated and with a high income are some of the biggest users of Bitcoin. Well, here at Crypto Coins News, we have also chronicled the statewide leadership of New Hampshire in the adoption of Bitcoin. Quote, Bitcoin are used quite significantly here in the New Hampshire area, and that allows us to create a network effect where the more people use digital currencies, the more useful they become. If you want to have the appropriate amount of voice in this world that you should be allotted, you can't be using a currency that siphons off your worth, your wealth to a centralized organization, whatever that centralized organization is. Usually today, most currencies siphon off that wealth to a central bank or government, says Darren Tapp, university mathematics professor. 101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire is a documentary adaptation of the Free State Project's list of 101 reasons to move to New Hampshire, which was written in 2012 by Michelle Dumas. The FSP is an effort to move 20,000 liberty-minded people to a low-populated state that has an existing pro-freedom culture. In 2003, participants of the FSP voted for the Live Free or Die state, New Hampshire, as its destination. For over 12 years, the 101 Reasons list has helped inspire thousands of activists and entrepreneurs to sign up for the FSP and continue New Hampshire's reputation as a beacon for liberty. Quote, Dr. Ron Paul popularized the idea that legal tender laws are what the problem is, recalls Declare Your Independence host Ernest Hancock. There needs to be competition in everything, including the money. Once people get over that hurdle and you show them a technical way that they could do it, and then they show you that there's a market for it. Anyone looking for an environment that welcomes all digital currencies for its products and services, not just Bitcoin, and embraces the entrepreneur would be wise to check out New Hampshire. Bitcoin cannot be uninvented, and the spirit exhibited by its residents shows that Bitcoin will be a force here for many years to come, without fear or reprisals from any centralized government within the state. How this flies long-term in a nation becoming more and more tyrannous is anyone's guess. It looks like Bitcoin, much like the people, will live free in New Hampshire. Is New Hampshire the most Bitcoin-friendly place in the United States? Asks CryptoCoinNews.com. Comment below, they say. And I think, yes, absolutely, it is the most Bitcoin-friendly place. There's no doubt. When I signed into my latest Bitcoin wallet, Airbits, I saw all of the local stores here in Keene, just around the corners from me, that all accept Bitcoin. So here's an example. I'm opening up my Airbits wallet. This is a free wallet you can go and download in the iOS or Android store. And right away, here you see a couple of stores not even a mile away. You've got Moda, a hair salon. You've got Corner News. You can buy coffee, cigarettes, magazines, news, whatever you want. FPP.cc for some listeners of LRN. You see LRN is listed here, the Liberty Radio Network. Free Talk Live, you can also donate to them in Bitcoin. Hey, here's 101 Deals Thrift Store. That's the place where I work. Plus, there's a Bitcoin ATM listed here. Yeah, all of this is less than 5 miles away that I've listed so far. And then when you expand the search to 50 miles, you get that many more. So yeah, Bitcoin lives in New Hampshire. And I've been disappointed to see even people in the California, Silicon Valley area open up the same wallet and see only 1, 2, or 3 stores, maybe a coffee shop or something. And the clerk behind the desk, they don't even really know how to accept Bitcoin. But in New Hampshire, I'm getting my hair cut every week. I'm going down to the corner store. I'm spending Bitcoin locally every day. And in fact, there's just one more business in town that decided to accept Bitcoin this week, Local Burger, and they're just now getting set up after months of people, customers badgering them saying, hey, we love your burgers. When are you going to accept Bitcoin? And they do it, but now that the college kids are back in town, I think they see the value there, that their college students are going to want to spend their money from their phones. I think the days are gone of keeping money in those old leather wallets that get crackly and stuffed with receipts. You lose them, and they're insecure, and you can't track your spending the way you can with a digital wallet. For example, when I spend some Bitcoin with the Airbits wallet, I can make a note about where that money has gone, what I spent it on, the time and place where it was spent. So all of these are great reasons why, if you love freedom, you got to move to New Hampshire and join up with other people who are using Bitcoin. In fact, Manchester, New Hampshire is home to the longest running Bitcoin meetup in the world. So if you want to be a part of it, come join us. There's plenty of room here to settle in New Hampshire. Coming up, we've got a hilarious story from the Colbert Report. Ian Freeman writes at freekeene.com that it took months for the Colbert Report footage to air that they shot back in June, but it was worth the wait. As expected, they skewered us pretty well. Here's the hilarious report on Robin Hood of Keene and Free Keene that aired last night on Colbert. We've got that coming up. It is freaking hilarious. A lot of the commenters on both sides are supportive and negative. And one thing you can't say about the Free Keene activists is that they're anything but boring, right? They are always entertaining. The things that are happening in New Hampshire, they don't always get the attention that Keene does. And I think Oscar Wilde said it best. The only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about.
When I found the Free State Project, I knew it was the key to achieving liberty in my lifetime. It's awesome to be surrounded by like-minded, freedom-loving activists who've moved here to New Hampshire. From politics to civil disobedience, we have it all. Where I came from, it felt that no matter what I did, liberty was dying. Perhaps you feel the same way? Call 888-377-2515 now to learn more about the Free State Project. That's 888-377-2515 or visit freestateproject.org. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, that's really the reason why I am, is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Nestle Toll House Refrigerated Cookie Dough. Who would you bake some love for? Find fun and easy baking ideas at tollhouse.com. Kids love doing arts and crafts projects, especially when you join in. Try channeling all that artistic energy into the kitchen and bake up some creative treats together. Think of your art supplies as frosting, sprinkles, and decorating gels, and use cookies or cupcakes as your canvas. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market, making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing. To be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent. What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Welcome back, friends, and we conclude Peace News with this final segment. I'm going to share with you a couple of videos. If you're watching at home, you will be able to see them. If you're listening, I will provide some background for what's happening on the screen. But two important clips, and we don't have much time, so let's get to them. 101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire. First, I've got a trailer for you. If you were listening over the break, you heard an advertisement featuring some clips from this trailer. I want to play it into the record here for the Peace News audience, because not everyone is exposed to LRN.FM throughout the day. And I think this trailer is simply amazing. It was done by Bo Davis, amazing editor who moved to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project back in 2011 and got active with Cop Block, then edited Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Hasn't stopped working since. Take a listen.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand economics on a level that the general population doesn't.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market, making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing. To be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent. What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of pontificating. There's a lot of people thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
So go to 101reasonsfilm.com to catch the rest of that clip. We're going to have to move quickly along to the Colbert clip so that we get this in. Just simply hilarious. Now, I'm not intending any IP violations, intellectual property here. You know, I intend to talk about this. We've been talking about it in reference to the 101 Reasons film, all of these reasons to move to New Hampshire. It's a propaganda flick, right? And it's trying to get you to believe this certain thing that, hey, if you are a person who cares about freedom, it's worth your time, energy, and effort to relocate and join with other people who are doing the same thing. So here's another propaganda piece from the other side. It's a pro-authoritarian message, and they used a lot of cut footage to make these friends of mine look pretty stupid. Here's the Free Keene Squad video via the Colbert Report. Hilarious. And very well done. You know, I'm going to say, yeah, while it's a propaganda piece, it's well done. Here's the clip.
Anyway, nation, I have long been a proponent of small government. As Thomas Jefferson said, that government is best which governs least, which means our Congress is headed toward perfection. Of course, America. Good job, Congress. We love you, Congress. Of course, America has a proud history of patriots standing up against government overreach. Where would we be if our founding fathers hadn't risen up against the tyranny of King George? Well, technically, we'd still be right here. That's how geography works. But we'd all be wearing absurd wigs instead of just Donald Trump.
Yeah, this is where Stephen Colbert makes himself sound like a loyalist.
I'm proud to profile the latest group of heroes who are attempting to give big government an overreach around.
Yeah, okay, and that's funny. It's a funny play on words, but him being pro-government
government is a tyranny and it's out of control.
is
It must
pro-tyranny.
be stopped. It really is government overreach, government gone amok.
And he's mocking these people who have it right.
Than George Orwell thought it would ever get.
Tyranny is on the rise, but these brave patriots are
Here's
fighting back.
Ian Freeman,
They
Chris Cantwell,
are
and
difference
James
makers.
Cleveland. And they are difference makers, damn it. I mean, they are amazing individuals who really deserve, I don't know, something a lot better than just being lampooned. But
Deep
it's
in the
nice.
heart of New Hampshire lies the small town of Keene,
You know, they got some
A
very
pretty
high-quality
place.
footage for this.
where the iron fist of authority has run amok. But help is on the way. Meet the Free Keene Squad. James Cleveland, a.k.a.
I think it's fair to say that I'm the mastermind.
the Mastermind. Garrett Ian.
I would identify
Yeah, there's
myself as an anarchist.
The Afro-Kist. Chris Cantwell.
This is a 38 caliber revolver in a paddle holster, and I carry it on my hip.
The Enforcer. The Free Keene Squad has a clear plan to free the people of Keene. Tell them, Mastermind.
Free Keene necessarily isn't about freeing people per se. As
A powerful vision for a better tomorrow.
That's tough. That's a pot shot with video editing. I mean, with like 2 hours of footage, you can make them say almost anything.
Free Keene claims that they're freeing Keene from something. Most of us that have lived here all of our lives really haven't figured that part out yet.
Now, here's an
Quite
example.
honestly, I don't think they've really figured it out yet.
Okay, this is totally unfair, right? As a government guy, they're interviewing Randy Filio without mentioning that this is the same city councilor who actually proposed a ban on chalk, a citywide ban on sidewalk chalk. Yes, he wanted children, adults, it didn't matter, thrown in jail, fined for possessing chalk. This is the freedom guy that they're interviewing. And of course, they're going to put him in a positive light. Oh, he's a government guy. And Stephen Colbert, you know, God bless him. He's a great satirist, but God, he's a government guy. And he's pro-authority. And he's going to paint the anti-authority people in a bad light. Here we go.
So if they ever do figure it out, I wish you'd give some of us a call.
Ring, ring, Randy. Better get the phone, because they figured it out.
parking meters.
You heard him right. Parking meters.
If we're going to have a government, I mean, I feel like that they should do kind of the basics. They should defend life, liberty, and property. And I don't really see how issuing parking tickets any of those goals.
Great point.
So Free Keene sprang into action by running ahead of meter maids and putting coins in the meters before they expire.
This is some of the least
They call
controversial
it
activism in the
Robin
world.
Hood.
I can't
They've been
believe that
filming
they're
themselves
taking the
doing it
opportunity
for
to make
years
this fun.
and have posted hundreds of clips on the web, some of which have gotten multiple views.
Yeah, that's a great pod shot at
I feel like
the
I'm a
activist.
superhero. I'm out there doing good for the community.
And now look at how, you know, they're taking advantage of good old James, who's obviously, he's wearing his Robin Hood hat. He's marching around giving a scowl for the camera. You know, they asked him to do things like that. It's not like he walks around with a Robin Hood hat every day. And so they're asking him like, hey, make yourself silly. And he goes and jumps into it. I congratulate him. I applaud those efforts for him to grab attention, be lampooned. It takes a lot of courage to put yourself out on national TV and have yourself be the butt of a 7-minute joke on Comedy Central. That's a lot of courage. And, you know, to those people who are haters who say, oh, look at all the bad press this generates, you haven't done nothing. All right. So I just want to see you guys generate the kind of press that Free Keene has generated here on Comedy Central. Go ahead, pay for a 7-minute ad on Comedy Central and see how much that costs you versus doing the activism, doing things that make news, and then grabbing the attention of Comedy Central and then performing so well for them. I mean, yeah, okay, he's the butt of a joke. Well, let's see how much attention this brings to the movement for the fringe people who actually care about freedom and are willing to do something about it. Let's continue with the video.
Ceramic city government shaking in their boots.
Probably the most controversial issue wasn't them plugging a meter, because quite honestly, none of us cared. What we cared about was they were following around the meter attendants and harassing them.
They're not harassing. They're annoying for living.
Hey, why are you going that way? So we're going to follow you. Oh, you're not going to get away with it. So money from people by force. Why this way? I don't think that's an appropriate thing for people to do to each other.
I'd like you to stop following me around. Please.
Nobody likes what you do. It's a crappy position to be in life. Go back to your truck and drive away.
I'm doing my job.
Okay. Doesn't look like it.
Yes, this may look like the Free Keene squad are being total dicks to innocent meter maids, but if that were true, why doesn't anyone stop them?
I find that when I carry a gun, people are very unlikely to hit me.
You can say almost what you want entirely to public officials. You can't threaten to kill them because that's like coercion, that's extortion, that's initiation of force.
I believe they really like what we're doing.
Of course, being New Englanders, the people of Keene are reserved in their displays of affection.
Why is she stealing money? Harassing her.
Get that away from me right now!
Get it out of my face.
Stop harassing people who are working.
You're nothing but a freeloading hobo.
You're an idiot. Oh. And the way you treat people shows me you're an idiot.
That's right. That's what you're going to do is walk away.
Yo, you don't even want to.
I mean, obviously there's people that don't like what we're doing, and I'm fine with that. I think it's like, to me, it's like a balance. Like life is like the yin yang. I feel like I'm the yang, I'm the white part, I'm the good part.
And every yang.
Oh, man. We're going to have to leave it there. That's all the time we have for today's episode. We'll be back on Tuesday. This has been Peace News. I appreciate you, the listeners. You can donate at peacenows.com/donate. And in the meantime, catch me at derekj.me. I've been working at the Porcupine Thrift Store, owned and operated by James Robin Hood Cleveland. Learn more at derekj.me.
It's the Onion Radio News. An area man doesn't know what to do with all the extra ketchup packets. This is Doyle Redland reporting. After finishing his big bacon class